So, did I call it or did I call it? Now, in case some of you don't know what I'm talking about, last week or around last week, I talked about the fact that Nexstat, not Nexstar, that was my fault for mispronouncing their username wrong, but Nexstat's Patreon exclusive Unconventional 2 webcomic, which is a sequel to the first Unconventional webcomic, seemed to be hinting at the fact that the two lead girls, or actually three lead girls, were going to be melting into a puddle of goop. Now, if you're wondering what I meant by three, well, like I said in the last audio video podcast I did on this, which I said was about a week ago, I mentioned the fact that Unconventional 2 seemed to be co-written, if not fully written, script-wise, by MrInternetman. MrInternetman, of course, on DeviantArt, is very well known for his character, Demonica Veronica. Veronica, who has this nightshade lipstick that turns her into the mischievous demon elf, Demonica, whose powers basically, transcend anything, any other magical wielding shapeshifter, elastic person, whatever could imagine, because she's pretty much the total package, when it comes to that. And in this story, she simultaneously possesses both the leading ladies, of Nexstat's Unconventional series. So, long story short, I mentioned in that audio video that it seemed that the recent part that they had uploaded on seemed to be hinting at the fact that the girls were going to melt into a puddle of goop. And lo and behold, today, Nexstat uploads the newest, I guess you could say, 10 pages to the Unconventional 2 series. And wouldn't you know it, we're not even 3 or 4 pages in, and the girls start to melt. That's right, they start to melt. And again, I said that this could potentially be hinted at, due to the fact that one of the girls that got possessed, through a thought, through thoughts, because that's all they could really manifest, being possessed, they said that basically they felt like they were going to melt. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened here. And as per usual, when it comes to MrInternetman's stories, or anything he's writing the script for, when 1, 2, maybe 3 girls end up in this situation, a majority of the time when they start mixing together, so do the thoughts. And you kind of see that in the story, where basically the two girls, they're starting to think along the same lines, and then all of a sudden they're now all thinking, as one, including Demonica, because the minds have been mixed together into one thought, into one mind. And, seeing this, it got me thinking that it doesn't matter when you do a collab with somebody. If that somebody you're doing a collab with is writing the script, then you have to expect that maybe in that script for your webcomic or your animation, depending on how advanced you are in that department, that individual is going to probably add in one of the favorite quirks, easy for me to say, one of the favorite quirks, if you will, or traits. One of the favorite traits, tropes, however you want to look. We'll just say tropes. They're going to add in one of the favorite tropes. And you, as the artist, have to find a way to apply that in there. Like, how are you going to, make it happen? Whether you're drawing it traditionally, whether you're, like I said, using animation, or 3D drawing, whatever, SFM. You got to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this happen? Because of the fact that you're not really actually planning on it maybe going in this direction, because you're thinking, well, we're going to work together on a story, they're going to do the script, I'm going to do the art, hopefully it's nothing too complicated or tricky to kind of bring to life. And lo and behold, with the advancement of technology nowadays, things like what we see in the recent Unconventional 2 part, if you will, which is pages 71 to 80, from what I understand, from what we see there, honestly, nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible whatsoever. And we've seen this, I've seen it, through various other SFM 3D comics and everything, done by the likes of Nexstat, done by the likes of Trouble TRO, done by the likes of Joven16, you name it, we have seen it. Even someone known as Cure-Wazer, that's Key-Wazer, or Waza, Key-Waza, if you will. Even they are showing that you can go this route by taking certain characters that we may know about, female characters, and having them get submerged or dipped into gooey substance all the way down, and then having them pop back up, or not have them pop back up. But the point is, we know with today's technology, going certain routes that you may have thought would be impossible in the past is indeed possible. And when I look at MrInternetman, and I see him collabing with people like Nexstat, like Trouble TRO, I know most of the time, especially if his character is involved in the story, or he's involved in the script period, that we're probably going to enter gooey, melty territory down the line. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with some stories, but that's usually the norm. It usually is. I mean, another story MrInternetman is collabing on with is with Trouble TRO and that science experiment. And it's almost certain, just by the way things are described in the synopsis for the story, that the melty gooey part that he's known to put his character through, or other characters through, is eventually going to happen here. It is going to occur. It is going to happen, if you will. It is going to happen one way or another. When and where it happens, that's up to Trouble TRO and MrInternetman. But knowing he's the one behind the script, it's probably just not that far off. But again, this is always something that when I see it, it just makes me realize, it just makes me realize that the person behind the script, behind the writing, is always going to want to add in their own little stories, or not little stories, but their own little tropes, their own little moments here and there that they're mostly known for. I mean, I know that when I commissioned a story that I wrote, I basically described to the person that read it and said, hey, I would like to do a comic on it. I described to them what I want to see. I want to see how, I want to see this in there, I want to see that in there. I don't want to see just like some, situation to where it's like, oh, it could happen, but it won't happen. No, I wanted to see it. I wanted to absolutely see it. And lo and behold, I got what I wanted. And in case you guys want to know what it is, I'm not going to say much except, let's just say you take Mina Mongoose and Sally Acorn and you go a route where a special created Chaos Emerald gives them the power of slime girls, and you add in LGBTQ, and you get the idea. That's all I'm going to say. But I wanted it that way, and I got it. Now, sometimes you're not always going to get things a certain way, depending on who's doing the artwork or whatever. But you might get something close. Like I had Melty, who's known for doing Sonic-related art and doing the OC characters Sky and Luke, or Lucas, on Ink Bunny and DeviantArt. I commissioned to them to do a picture of Sky in an overflowing bubble bath. And my original idea was to have Sky completely covered in the bubbles to the point that all you see is her eyes and her mouth, just, sticking out. And she's just completely covered from head to toe in bubbles, almost as if she's transformed into a bubble bath echidna. Or a female echidna made of bubbles. That's about it. That was my commission. Now, did I get that? No. But I did get something close. But the reason I'm not upset about it is because I can understand why Mel Sky didn't probably want to, put too much into that because maybe it was too much perhaps for, not just them artistically, but maybe the software couldn't handle it as much. So I'm understandable of the fact that, hey, they did what they could, and that's fine. That's fine. I had, what's her name, Lady Drassamai. I commissioned her last year, for a comic, for actually 5 things, one for my birthday, one for my, 2 things for my birthday anyway, a single pick for my birthday, and one, that was a comic. And I described to them what I wanted, and they gave me pretty much what I wanted, no doubt. But they didn't really, add as much as I would think they would. Like when I said, hey, I want, my pink lioness OC that I created, several years ago. When I said I want them to melt down into a puddle and then have them split in two, like like a clone emerges from the puddle and then she envelops her and everything, not only did I say that I wanted that, and then I wanted them to go back to being a puddle and then evaporating and all that, but there was a thing in there that I said I want them to say Lana doesn't exist anymore, something like that. But I didn't get it. But what I got was good enough, and I wasn't mad about it because a majority of what I asked was, brought to life. So I was cool with that. But the point I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen, is this. You can basically be the script writer and you could add in what you want. Pretty much similar to being a person that's asking for a commission. You can put in description of what you want, and most of the time you may get it, but not exactly the way you're depicting it. Because of the fact that, one, they may have other projects, other commissions they have to work on, or other webcomics they have to work on, but mostly it could be for the fact, it could be for the fact that the software they're using might not be, up to snuff to doing exactly what you want, or basically they don't want to overdo it with the software because it might cause something to happen to the computer, in the long run. And that's understandable. But getting back to what I said here, when I see that Nexstat and Trouble TRO are collabing with the likes of MrInternetman, pretty much that tells me they're going to probably end up giving us, some kind of moment to where the characters go gooey. Whether, MrInternetman's character, Veronica is involved or not, there's always a good chance of that. And what I see with the Science Experiment webcomic right now, in the direction it seems to be going based on the synopsis, I'm not going to put it past them for that to occur, or am I going to put it past them that because that might happen, we might see a fusion, occur between the two ladies, just like we're going to probably see here with Nexstat's, Unconventional 2 series in next week's installment. Because, again, it seems that that's just the avenue he likes to go down in. It seems to be the avenue he likes to go down in with his character and characters involved. We've seen it in his own presentations, even recently when he's done a little bit of a series of drawings, kind of like a little comic, if you will, where Demonica is basically starting off as a puddle of goop, and then she just reforms from that. Heck, we've seen it when they did, when he did the Walk on the Wild Side, which was a kind of like a crossover between Demonica and Minor Dash Alterations character Ruby Walker. We saw it there, and then of course we saw it recently, with Agent Pink 2, Bedlam's Revenge, Agent Pink, Bedlam's Revenge 2, I should say, which was an epilogue comic. We knew it was coming there, and we saw it happen there. And thus, again, like I said, I would not put it past, him to make that happen. I mean, heck, we're seeing it right now with Trouble TRO. Trouble TRO, basically, is, in my opinion, taking influence from what MrInternetman has done, and is applying it to their two characters in the Pink Benefit story that's ongoing right now. You can tell that Joven 16 does the same thing with some of those stories. So, again, I look at the fact, that I'm not going to put it past, I'm not going to put it past, Mr. Internet, a collab with MrInternetman or inspiration by, caused by MrInternetman for people like Joven 16, like let's say with the current Emerald Power comic they're doing, with Trouble TRO and Science Experiment, and especially currently right now with Nexstat, and whatever future plans anybody else has, collabing with MrInternetman or being inspired by him, I would not put it past them that doing one of the portions of the stories, whether it's a webcomic story or, just a written story or whatever, whether it's Patreon exclusive or not, I would not put it past them to have a gooey, melty moment put in there if it's, with the characters, involved, especially if the characters are shapeshifters or are drinking little potions that temporarily give them the power to shapeshift, and one of the ways they can shapeshift is exactly that way, melty and gooey, which could lead to a temporary fusion or not, evaporation or not, we don't know. So yeah, long story short, one thing I've noticed is when you collab with MrInternetman or you're inspired by his works, there's a good chance, just like what Nexstat has shown as of today recently, that your story eventually will go the gooey, melty route with your characters and possibly lead to either an evaporation moment or a fusion moment. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if any of you from experience has dealt with this yourselves. Like, you agree to do a collab and you're like, let's say you're the one doing the writing or you're the one doing the artisticness. Let me know whether or not you've been through this to where, as a writer, you would add your little favorite traits, tropes, quirks in there to be part of the story, or as an artist, the person that does the art that brings it to life, let me know whether or not when you would read a script and you would see it, your first thought would be, man, this is going to be a little tricky, but I will try to make it happen in some way. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment below, live chat during the premiere. Like the video. You will get an audio podcast version of this at BW Rose's Discussions at all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. Also, check me out at my Teespring store, guys. Nice for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Also, check me out at deviantart.com, says BVW1979. Also, support me at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get here on YouTube. Also, support me at patreon.com, says BW Roses, the $1, $3 tier. Also, ladies and gentlemen, support me at Venmo at Brian-Roma-2 and Cash App at BWRoses98. All of those would be greatly appreciated. And until next time, guys, give me your thoughts overall, in the live chat and in the comments below, and I'll talk to y'all later.